So for dhuhr, your intention will be different than when you're making an act, when you're doing a nafila. So make a distinction even between the same act, different acts that may be similar. So salat, we have different type of salawat that we do. Clear? So an-niyah, it makes that distinction regarding certain types of ibadah that are similar. Is that clear? Aywa. So the fuqaha look at it from that perspective. Because the fuqaha thing is going to somewhat let you know those things which is ahkam al-shar'iyya, halal al-haram, what is wajib, what are the ahkam al-khamsa. Ahkam al-khamsa, wajib, mustahab, mubah, makruh, and haram. They refer to them as ahkam al-khamsa. So the fuqaha, their mindset in looking at the act, it can somewhat put everything in a particular category. One of those categories. Is it wajib or mustahab or mubah? Or this act, that thing that is not to be done, is the degree of the something which is haram completely, or something which is makruh, disliked. So that's the mindset of a faqih, to put things in one of those categories. Type. So the fuqaha, in looking at concerning matters concerning an-niyah, is to see how it relates to those things. With me? Then you have another set of ulama who can somewhat pay attention to matters concerning an-niyah. Those are the people concerning al-suluk. Not suluk in Sufi or suluk type. Al-suluk, regarding people, regarding matter concerning at-tarbiyah, a person's behavior and conduct. Nam, in the sense of your niyyah, by way of if the person claiming to have a niyyah salihah, why you're not functioning like a decent person. The person says, no, I'm righteous, claim, but you're a person who you backbite, you slander. Why? So the person who have a niyyah al-hasana, the person whose heart is clean, as they say, then is expected the person should, that his action should also represent this. So the person said that my intention is good, inside is clean, but you're backbiting, you're fornicating, you're lying, you're stealing, it doesn't match together. So the people of suluk, regarding tarbiyah, training, upbringing, they look at it from that perspective. If you're claiming to be a person who's upright inside, let me see this on your, by way of your actions, the way that you speak to others, the way you behave with others, the way you function in general. So the people of suluk, they look at niyyah by that way, how your niyyah impact on your actions and what you represent and who you are, the person. And if both are in go together, then that is good. If not, then that's a problem. With me? So sometimes, especially concerning those people who say that we are Salafi, we're from Ahlul Sunnah, and we say, now we know it all, as claimed by some, but sometimes how we function is, there's a contradiction. We're supposed to know things, but our actions, let's say know things on paper and in books, but our action is complete opposite. So there's something, there's a fallout. There's something not balancing out. And sometimes it could be either the person, sometimes the downfall could be our intention, our niyyah. Sometimes it's our intention. Ala kulli hal, an-niyyah, also of an-niyyah, fiqh an-niyyah, that also it relates to concerning that also concerning of the shurut qubul al-amal in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Come shurut for an act to be accepted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many conditions? Sisters, go we under brothers for a while, give them a break. For the sisters, what are the conditions for an act to be acceptable with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Aywa. So you have those two conditions, al-ikhlas wa mutaba'a. So an-niyyah relates, our niyyah goes back with al-ikhlas. So having the right intention for an act to be accepted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the person have to kind of somewhat that, take to account our intention. Is our intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having ikhlas or not? If our ikhlas, if our niyyah is not correct, then it could mean our act, it has no bearing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fiqh of not just looking at what is the outward action, but also what is internal. Because for an act to be accepted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those two things have to be together. One without the other, it doesn't count. One without the other, so a person could have the best of intention, but the act is complete against the sunnah, it doesn't carry any value. Or opposite, the person action seems right, but the intention is wrong, then also it carries no value until both those two things are together, al-ikhlas and the second al-mutabi'ah. Al-ikhlas wa mutabi'ah. And al-ittiba' al-yawm is not al-rad al-mukhalif in everything, bear that in mind. Al-ittiba' doesn't mean refuting others all the time. Sometimes in always criticizing others, we forget about ourselves. We forget about ourselves. And as I said, the person you point fingers, then not, make sure that you at least check yourself first. At least check yourself first in criticizing others. So of the things concerning ashurut qabul amal is that the person can somewhat pay attention regarding his intention and niyyah, to ensure that that niyyah, it is al-ikhlas. So whatever we're doing and ikhlas is not there, then it might mean yawm al-qiyamah will mean to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that act, it has no value. All that we have done carries no value, because ikhlas wasn't there, even though we're wearing niqab, we're wearing the thobe, but because all those other things was not in place concerning our intention, it can somewhat gave no value to that act. That's concerning, we end with concerning an-niyyah, regarding concerning a matter concerning that ulama discussed concerning talaffuz bin niyyah, regarding the person can somewhat uttering of a niyyah. Is it permissible for a person to kind of somewhat before he carries out an act of ibadah, that he kind of somewhat mentions his intention? I'm going to pray dhuhr in masjid, what's your local masjid? Masjid Fulaniya, arba rakat. Is that needed? So those things are not needed. Those things are not needed. So intention does not need to be uttered, as it is something which is internal. So that's concerning. So we'll end with that matter regarding the first hadith, إنما الأعمال بالنيات, and some of the matters that relate to that particular hadith. We said hadith can go into more detail, but those are some of those points that relate to that particular hadith. Any question before we go to the next hadith? Any questions? We had mentioned, and also we'll come back to it, that some of the ulama, other than Bukhari and Muslim, that they have stipulated that in their collection that everything is authentic. Who are some of those other ulama? Before Albani. We go before Albani. Imam Ahmed. Aywa. Ilm al-Salaf al-Khalaf. أي ماشي. But the names of some of the ulama who have collected a hadith, and they made it a condition that what we collect is all authentic. Aywa Ibn Khuzaymah, referred to as Imam al-A'imma. He referred to as Imam al-A'imma, Ibn Khuzaymah. So he has a collection also that you can somewhat mirror of Bukhari, that now what Bukhari missed, he collected. What Bukhari missed, he somewhat collected. And Imam Ibn Khuzaymah rahimahullah, he has a book in hadith, and also a famous book also in Aqidah and other works. So Ibn Khuzaymah, of one of them who stipulated this, but as for the condition, was it met, not met, that's the next discussion. But that was the condition, the criteria that he placed. That's one, Ibn Khuzaymah. And part of his book is in print. Another, I guess the fiqh, so these things, these would come up in your fiqh lessons. These would come up in your fiqh lessons. Aywa Ibn Hibban, Aywa Ibn Hibban al-Busti. Aywa. So Ibn Hibban also of those with a large collection of a hadith that is said that he stated or put as a criteria that whatever he collected is authentic according to the condition of Bukhari and Muslim that they missed. Any others? But those are some. Those are some, and there are others. There are others. So of those who stipulated authenticity, we have Bukhari, Muslim, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, Imam Daraqutni, Abu Awana, who is a student of Imam Muslim, that has also his own collection that he mentioned. Everything I collect is on the condition of Imam Muslim, his teacher. So you have many others who have done this. So you find I've said a hadith of what we have today, hadith. You understand? There's many things that we may not be that aware of. Many hadith or collection of hadith that are out there that we may not be that aware of. Aywa.
So you said the other four, the bulk of their work was authentic, but some of it wasn't.
Aywa.
So did they know when they was collecting it, they didn't stipulate that it's going to be authentic, that all their collections are authentic?
Concerning that, when you said those four, concerning the Ashabu Sunan,
yeah, Sunan.
That wasn't their condition.
Okay, wasn't it?
Their condition mainly primarily concerned that get a hadith that was generally concerned that was used as a dalil by the fuqaha. What?
So they didn't consider everything that they collected to be authentic.
Everything they mentioned is not authentic. You understand? Sometimes with the fuqaha that they may sometimes use a hadith that is weak. But their main thing was kind of someone to bring in one collection or a hadith that were used by the fuqaha in matters relating to halal and haram. So next hadith that we mentioned that Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah mentioned concerning of those four hadith. The second hadith is the first hadith is innama al-amal bin niyat, and the second hadith they mentioned concerning that hadith of Aisha radhiyallahu anha, which is, what's that hadith? Aywa. They mentioned, so that's the hadith that we now discuss. So we'll go to now to the second hadith. So the second hadith of those four hadith that is mentioned that Islam cannot revolve around those four hadith, as mentioned by Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah. Of the hadith he mentioned concerning the hadith of al-Mu'minin radhiyallahu anha, Aisha radhiyallahu anha, قالت قال الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. So hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim, من أحدث في أمر هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. The one who have innovated regarding our affairs, then that is not from it, it is rejected. That's the hadith. And all those hadith are in Al-Arba'in An-Nawawiyya. All the hadith that we mentioned is in Arba'in An-Nawawiyya. So this particular hadith, as for say takhrij, and takhrij in a sense of knowing where the source of that hadith, what's the source of the hadith, and also the level or the ruling, and also the ruling on that hadith. That's called what? Takhrij. So for example, we said it is important concern that that any hadith that is mentioned, it's the responsibility of the person using the hadith that he has to clarify that the hadith is authentic or not. That's his responsibility. So any hadith that you use is your responsibility to know whether your hadith is authentic or not me. You with me? So that's concerned. So I said that's not the ulama, and especially in our in contemporary times, in meaning in our time, that this particular field of ilm al-hadith, of someone getting a new attention, that was a deserved attention that was lost for a while. A deserved attention that was somewhat lost, not complete but lost, or not given its due attention as it should. Better wording, not given its due attention as deserving. So if one of the likes of Shaykh Muhammad Nasruddin Albani rahimahullah can somewhat revive this particular area. Not that he's the only one, but of those ones who can somewhat revived it regarding giving hadith study its due attention, or the attention it is deserving to some degree. Others of the ulama of hadith and somewhat gave hadith this type of attention. Others such as other people of hadith that we know contemporary times. Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah, ulama of Yemen. Aywa, any others? Ulama of hadith that are known to us. Hey, what of the past? Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abad, ulama of hadith. Hey, others? Only 3 people of hadith we have in the dunya. Or ulama of fiqh, who are people that specialize in fiqh. Who will be some of those names? Aywa, man hum? A'immat al-Arba, the 4 A'imma. Who are they? Hey, the sisters. Who are A'immat al-Arba? Can you do in fiqh? The sisters, who are A'immat al-Arba, the 4 main imam, are what referred to the 4 imam. Who are they? 1, Imam Ahmad. 2nd, Imam Abu Hanifa. Aywa. 3rd, Imam Malik. Aywa. And the 4th, Imam Muhammad Idris al-Shafi rahimahullah jami'an. So those are 4 A'imma. I'm saying because you're studying fiqh, then there's a book that is called, that I know from before, Evolution of Fiqh by Bilal Phillips. If you're studying fiqh, then I said read that book. Read that book, kind of somewhat to understand regarding concerning how these madhahib came into being, and that there are more, but these 4 kind of somewhat remain with us, or you have others that still remain, but these 4 are the ones that you find most Muslim somewhat is connected to them in one way or another. And a person who's a talibul ilm and a Salafi, that is not for us to have any to diss any of those A'imma and the ulama in general, of those of the past or those of present. Whether you may agree with them on some matters or disagree, is not for any one of us to diss them or to speak ill of them. With me? So the A'imma, we should know them because of their service to Islam, and because we can somewhat benefit from their works and their books. So it is, yes, that we should know who those people are, Nam, and also in our day-to-day life that we live, you understand, we have questions that need to be answered, isn't it? And rulings that we need to know. And the people are going to go back to clarify things, and you're going to find things that we're going to face, things that have occurred before, and things that are contemporary, new things that we're going to face in our time, or the people refer back to regarding getting answers to our question. That's how we ask, or the people of hadith, or the fuqaha, so we have an idea, or the people we refer back to when we have questions that needs answers. With me? So it's not to know them to be muta'assib towards the shaykh and to the imam or whatever title. That's not the purpose. But to know at least the people of the ulama of the sunnah, when we have questions that need answers, we know who to go back to, or when things come to us, we know is that thing, that shaykh that he mentioned, is he one that that is okay to take from him or not. With me? So said, who are the fuqaha, a'immat al-arba. So who are the fuqaha of contemporary times? We have a free question to ask. Who we ask today? Sheikh? Okay, Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili. Why? Because he came to England? Aywa, Sheikh Sulaiman, that's one. Others? People of fiqh. Sheikh Salih Fawzan. Aywa. Man. 3. 1, 3, and then we move. So we have Sheikh Luhaydan. Aywa. So the second hadith, regarding the hadith, the second hadith that we have here, we have about 15 minutes or less to discuss this hadith. That Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he mentioned concerning that هذا حديث أصل عظيم من أصول الإسلام وهو كالميزان للأعمال في ظاهري. That Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he mentioned concerning that هذا hadith من hadith of Aisha anha, that's of those hadith which is a asl, one of the great principles from the principle of Islam, and it is the scale regarding measuring outwards actions. It's the scale to measure outwards actions. So the hadith of Aisha anha regarding this matter is to discuss concerning a tamiz, or to make a distinction regarding that things that are beyond the Sharia, things that people have now brought into Islam that is not from Islam. So this hadith is to caution us that this is something that we should be careful of, not to add or to bring things into Islam that have no place in Islam. Nam? You have any questions? So in general concern the hadith, in nutshell, regarding this particular hadith, it's going to somewhat also this hadith, it's going to somewhat put in perspective matters regarding what is said to be of the sunnah and what is said to be al-bidah. What is said to be from the sunnah, and also its opposite, which is matters relating to al-bidah. Now, so I mentioned that the person who does something that is not from our action, then it is rejected. So there's certain thing a person may do, and may think of it to be from Islam, but in reality that's not the case. But how does one make that distinction? How does one make a distinction where something may be done and a person may think that this represents Islam, but in reality that's not the case? So here Islam, it kind of somewhat gave us a principle to follow regarding this particular matter, or something to be mindful of, with the hadith concerning I mentioned, man ya'ish minkum ba'di, that the one who live after me فَسَيَرَى اِخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا, that one we see many differences like in our time, and this differences is started not just now, from a while back, from the time of Sahaba. The difference between the Muslim is started from then and still continues until today. Now they mention, so you can somewhat inform us as what will occur. They mention the remedy in dealing with these differences, and it shows in general concerning differences are not something that is in all cases something that is encouraged amongst us. Now they mention alayhi salam, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي وَسُنَّةُ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ الْمَهْدِيِّينَ مِنْ بَعْدِي عَضُّوا عَلَيْهَا بِالنَّوَاجِذِ وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحْدَثَاتُ الْأُمُورِ فَإِنَّ كُلِّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. Then here Islam can somewhat mention that when you see the difference amongst the Muslim, or what occurs between the people regarding this deen, then the way out is for the person to hold to the sunnah, the person to apply the sunnah in his life. And also that of the khulafa ar-rashid from the Sahaba, and you should hold to it with your molar teeth, to certain a person hold to it, you understand, to the best of one's ability. Then they mention وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحْدَثَاتُ الْأُمُورِ, and I caution you against newly invented matters, as every newly invented matter is a bid'ah, and every bid'ah is a dalala, is a misguidance. So this hadith shows concern that the person is cautioned against al-bid'ah and things which is muhdath, things that are new, that relates to the religion. So this hadith is going to somewhat try to preserve the beauty of Islam. This hadith is to kind of somewhat to preserve and keep intact what Islam actually represents and what may be attributed to Islam, but have nothing to do with Islam. Have nothing to do with Islam. And more, so that hadith, so this hadith is to discuss that particular point. Of those points, not sure if we have time, but we see is to discuss concerning what is bid'ah, and also what is sunnah. What is bid'ah and what is sunnah. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he has a very comprehensive meaning of a sunnah that he mentioned here at Tariq al-Masluka, that is the path which is followed. فَيَشْمَلْ ذَلِكَ, which includes in this tamassuk, holding بِمَا كَانَ عَلَيْهِ Rasul alayhi salam, what the Prophet alayhi salam was upon, وَخُلَفَاهُ الرَّاشِدُونَ, and what is rightly guided khulafa were upon, من الاتقادات, of things of belief, والآمال, and things of actions, والأقوال, and things of statements. So the sunnah, so repeat again quickly that he mentioned that as sunnah, what is meant with the salaf is a path, the path which is followed, that includes holding to what the Prophet Islam was upon and his companions regarding things that relates to our belief, our actions and speech. And this was how the Salaf saw as sunnah. The Salaf as how they regarded the sunnah. So the sunnah, it composed of the person holding to a particular way that we follow, or a particular way to be followed. But this will include things that relates to one's belief, that relates to how the person actions, and also the person's statement. All that is the sunnah. And if you take bits and away from the complete thing, then you have deficiency in the sunnah. You find deficiency in the sunnah. So don't just take the bit that we like in some matters, and in other matters then it is that it is put aside. Then that's not falling to the sunnah in its proper sense. So taking all of that as one parcel, the things that we believe is a part of the sunnah. Also how we behave and how we function, that's a part of the sunnah. The way that we speak is a part of the sunnah. And a person will not hold to the sunnah incomplete until all those things are together. فيشمل ذلك تمسك بما كان عليه عليه الصلاة والسلام هو وخلفائه الراشدون من الاعتقادات. Or you wanted the English or Arabic? اعتقادات والأعمال والأقوال. وهذه هي السنة الكاملة. So I said that this is the complete sunnah. This is the complete sunnah. نعم. Some of the ulama, they can somewhat see the sunnah as mainly concerning, as the sunnah concerning also related sometimes, that relates to matter relating to i'tiqadat. And sometimes the sunnah is used in that context, whereas to make a distinction regarding the people of Ahl-Sunnah than the people from Ahl-Bidah. And we might get to that point inshallah. So the general thing concerning the person regarding our actions, our statements, our behavior, that whatever we do, we should, if we can somewhat go beyond what the Sharia allows, then we fall into error. We fall into an error. And sometimes going beyond the limits, the boundary of the sunnah, then a person could fall into bid'ah. And sometimes falling into bid'ah, the person is of good intention. He wants to hold to the sunnah, but missed something and he fell into bid'ah. And in most cases it occurred due to, as we discussed, concerning falling into ghulu. The person going to excess, going overboard in matters. So we'll end this bit because of time. We have 2 minutes exactly. That asbab al-bidah, of the things that will allow, that cause, factors that cause a person to fall into bidah. 1, al-jahl bid-deen, ignorance of Islam and the rules of Islam. So of those things, that sometimes of those factors that bring about a person to fall into bid'ah, what was the first one is? A jahl. And that jahl sometimes is a jahl concerning matters concerning a deen. For example, you are tullab. Studying any science, you are from A to Z. You are from what? A to Z. If the person study from A to M, then he should remain quiet. Don't speak. Except in that little area that you know. Anything beyond what M, you have no, then it have nothing to do with you. You with me? And a person really speaks when he has cover from A to Z. Because even a person from A to M, then he has just part of what he needs. And sometimes all those things from A to Z, they overlap. They cross over. And if you don't have everything as one, then there's a deficiency and you might fall into it not knowing. You with me? So a person has studied fiqh, but he only study bab of tahara, then still he's he's still a general person. Because he hasn't gone through all the other abwab of fiqh. And those sometimes they are connected with each other. And that sometimes the person having that ignorance, that's how bidah come into place, because the person knows from A to M, so he thinks he knows everything already. You know, most of it, you don't think he knows something. So he starts to enter into areas that he doesn't know. not knowing that. You with me? And then he opened the door for himself and for others for bid'ah. Also of the asbab, of the reasons of bid'ah, ghulu fi din. And the ghulu fi din is people who, you might say, people who sometimes that they give Islam some importance. As in the case of those 3 men who came to out of the Prophet of Islam and asked regarding how we function. So one said what? Won't get married. Another one said what? Sleep all night, pray, no sleep, pray, fast all the time. So they wanted to do good. So sometimes bid'ah, the person wants to do good, but he doesn't know how to put things in balance. So you go overboard. You want to do, more than the norm, but doesn't know how to put things in context. So you have a love for the Sunnah, but then he kind of somewhat went overboard, and next thing you know, he's in bid'ah. With me? So ghulu fi din, having excessiveness regarding the religion, sometimes can lead the person to fall into bid'ah. For example, ghulu fi din. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is a fatwa that he states that, for example, the woman, she's in her house and she's married with her husband, but she wear her hijab in the house. Why? She's married in the house with her husband and she's still wearing what? Hijab. Why? She's that righteous? That's not righteousness. That's ghulu. You with me? So sometimes a person might deem something to be piety, but in reality it's just the opposite. You with me? Also of those things that can bring about concerning bid'ah, falling to bid'ah, they mention concerning at-taqlid al-amma wa ta'assub. So today we are concerning in our environment, in our circle of the word, of those words that will scare you, that used to scare concerning hizbiyah, isn't it? That person is hizbi, or is with a hizbi masjid, or is da-da-da-da-da. So these things of hizbiyah, where the person has this type of attachment to something that he shouldn't, he's going overboard. And sometimes could be this ta'assub towards that sheikh, to that imam, to that masjid, where everything you see that they do right, that you see, they're always right. And they're never wrong. There's no room for error in a person who's a human being who is not perfect. But we end here, inshallah, because time has run out. Normally in my lessons, I don't really do question and answers. Taib? Because we're not people to be asked questions. We're not people to be asked questions. Except for what we may have discussed in the lesson. And I said, follow that principle with the people that you sit with who may present themselves as tulab trying to teach you. Only ask them questions that relate to the topic that they discussed that day, or they may have previously covered with you. You with me? But things that go outside, then be careful, because they're still themselves people who they're tulab just like you. You with me? And also have to protect themselves from falling into where they shouldn't be, this thing they shouldn't be discussing. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll end there. It was somewhat a pleasure being with you. As you can see, my system is different from maybe others. Sir? Is that the case? No? Hey, okay. But my thing also in some lectures that for my thing that we communicate. I'm not just here to just give you information type of thing. It's for both of us kind of somewhat to share. And yes, I ask more questions than you ask me, isn't it? Hey, that's how we do it. So inshallah ta'ala, hopefully soon everything go back to normal. وبالله توفيق وهذا السبيل وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله العالمين.